You know that feeling when you're hiking? You see the peak way up in the distance and your legs are burning, you're sweating, but you tell yourself, okay, just get to the top.
Hmm.
The view will be incredible. I'll finally be able to breathe. Everything will, make sense once I'm standing on that summit.
Summit fever. It's a very, very real thing.
It is. But then you finally get there. You scramble up the last few rocks, you stand on the peak, and sure, the view is nice for about 5 minutes.
Mm.
But it's also windy. It's freezing.
And there are a bunch of other sweaty people crowding the view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you suddenly realize you have to walk all the way back down on tired legs.
And you're exhausted. The exhilaration is so fleeting, but the exhaustion is real.
Right. And we do this with mountains, which is, fine, but we really do this with our lives. We have this if-then logic just deeply hardwired into our brain.
Oh, absolutely.
If I get the
Yeah.
promotion, then I'll be happy. If I hit that net worth, then the anxiety stops.
If I get the award, then I'm valid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Psychologists actually have a term for this, right?
They do. It's called the arrival fallacy. It's the belief that once you reach a specific destination or a goal, you will achieve this permanent state of happiness. And it is, unfortunately, a complete lie.
That is the cheery note we are starting on today.
Yeah.
But seriously, this is exactly what we are unpacking. We have a heavy-hitting deep dive today based on the myth of achievement and the architecture of contentment.
And specifically, a narrative account from it called Success Didn't Make Him Happy, This Did.
And this isn't your standard self-help fluff where, everyone hugs at the end.
No, not at all. This is more like a forensic analysis of a life that looked perfect on Instagram but was really rotting from the inside. It's about the mechanics of why we feel empty even when we win.
What I found so interesting about this source material is that it doesn't focus on someone who failed. We usually hear stories about the guy who burnt out, crashed the car, lost everything. This guy, he won.
He did. He ticked every single box.
It's actually much more terrifying, if you really think about it.
It is, because if you fail, you can always tell yourself, well, if I just succeeded, I would be happy. You have that little safety net of hope.
But if you succeed and you're still miserable,
You're out of excuses. You have nowhere left to look.
you're just standing at the top of the mountain, freezing to death.
Exactly. So our mission today is to figure out why that happens, why the pinnacle so often feels like emptiness, and crucially, look at the specific structural shifts this person made to build a life that actually felt good.
Right, rather than just one that looked impressive to his neighbors.
Let's get into the inherited script. That's the term the source uses early on, and I think everyone listening has a version of this script in their head.
It's like the operating system we're installed with at birth.
It is.
Yeah.
The text mentions that the protagonist didn't choose his ambition, he absorbed it. Think about that distinction for a second. It wasn't an active choice, it was just osmosis.
It's mimetic, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want what we see other people wanting. We see our parents, our peers, the media, and we just sort of download their desires.
Precisely. So from a young age, the template was handed to him. Good grades lead to a respected degree. The degree leads to the high-status career.
The career leads to financial stability and, recognition. It's a completely linear path.
And I want to be clear here, we aren't saying don't get good grades or don't get a good job. Those are fine things.
Of course.
But the source argues that the problem arose because he built his entire identity around these external markers.
He outsourced his self-worth.
He did. He believed that happiness was a place you go to, a geographic location on a timeline, not a state you cultivate. And the source details the cost of entry for this journey. And it wasn't cheap.
No, it was expensive. The phrase "the long climb" really stuck out to me in the text. It describes the late nights, the early mornings.
Mm-hmm.
But the specific losses were just brutal.
Yeah.
Friends drifting away, not because of a big fight, but just because of absence. Hobbies just vanishing.
The text uses a chilling phrase here. It says, rest became a luxury.
Oof, I felt that one.
I think many of us do. It's the idea that sleep or relaxation is a reward you only get after you've completely depleted yourself. You have to earn the right to stop moving.
Right. If you haven't suffered enough today, you don't deserve to sit on the couch.
It's a distinct mindset. And he justified it all with the mantra, success requires sacrifice. It's the ultimate delayed gratification trap. I will be miserable now so I can be happy later.
But look at the transaction he's making. He wasn't just working a job. He was enacting a whole belief system. He viewed his suffering as currency.
Right. He thought if he paid enough in stress and isolation, he could eventually buy his freedom.
But you can't buy back time. And you certainly can't buy back relationships that have atrophied for 10 years.
That's the tragedy of it. He didn't realize that by trading away his capacity for connection and rest, he was eroding the very tools he would need to actually enjoy that future success.
He was lobotomizing his ability to feel joy in the pursuit of the thing that was supposed to bring him joy.
Exactly. So let's fast forward. He pays the price, he does the grind, he climbs the mountain, and we get to the arrival, the scene where the confetti is supposed to fall.
He gets the big promotion. The money hits the bank account. The source says he had the external proof that he had made it. People admired him. They envied him.
He had the corner office and the respect.
And this is where the script just breaks. He's standing there, people are shaking his hand, and inside, silence.
It's worse than that. Dissonance. The source describes his internal state as just wrong. You expect elation, you expect this huge release of pressure, but instead the excitement faded almost instantly.
The classic case of hedonic adaptation.
It is. For anyone who hasn't heard that term, it's often called the hedonic treadmill. We humans are incredibly adaptable, so when something good happens, you buy a new car, you get a raise, we get a spike in happiness.
But our brains are wired to return to a baseline very, very quickly.
So that new fancy car becomes just the car in about 3 weeks. The big title becomes just the job, but with more emails.
So he's standing there. The dopamine hit has worn off way faster than he expected. And what's left?
Restlessness, anxiety, and a profound sense of disconnection.
That word disconnected kept coming up in the text. It's almost like he was watching a movie of his life rather than actually living it.
Because the reality didn't match the projection. He thought success would be a fortress that protected him from insecurity. He thought, once I'm up here, I'm safe.
Instead, success just brought a heavier backpack.
Yeah, the pressure increased, the expectations multiplied. He realized that making it just meant he had more to lose.
Okay, so here's the part that I think is the most dangerous. When we hit this wall, when we win and we still feel bad, we usually don't blame the game.
Whoa, we blame ourselves.
Exactly. This is the trap of more. He assumed the problem was the quantity of his success. He thought, maybe I'm not happy because I'm only a VP. If I were C-suite, then it would work.
So he doubled down.
He sprinted faster. He sought more money, more recognition. The source describes this cycle of brief relief followed by long dissatisfaction.
He was chasing a high that was getting harder and harder to hit.
It's like an addiction. Tolerance builds up.
It is absolutely an addiction to validation. He was starving to death while sitting at a banquet because the food, the external praise, it had no nutritional value for what he actually needed.
He needed meaning.
And he was being fed status.
So how does he break it? Because usually stories like this end with a heart attack or a divorce or some public breakdown. But the source calls this segment the dangerous question. And it's surprisingly quiet.
I love this part because it's so realistic. No table flipping, no screaming match. It was just a quiet Tuesday evening. He's sitting there looking at his life, looking at all the trappings of his success, and he just asks.
If this is success,
Yeah.
why am I unhappy?
It's such a simple sentence, but it just destroys the whole house of cards.
If this is success, why am I unhappy?
It pulls the thread that unravels the entire sweater. Because the answer wasn't a justification, it was an admission. He realized he had built a life that was architecturally sound from the outside, but completely hollow on the inside.
The source calls this his inventory of loss.
Right. He stopped counting what he had gained, the money, the title, and started counting what it cost. We talked about hobbies earlier, but now he's realizing the deeper costs.
Presence.
Health. The ability to just sit in a room and be okay.
He wasn't clinically depressed necessarily, but the text says he wasn't alive either. He was just functioning.
He was a high-performance machine. Efficient, productive, and totally numb. He had optimized his life for output, not for experience. He was a vehicle for getting things done, not a human being experiencing life.
I think a lot of listeners are looking at their calendars right now and sweating a little bit.
Yeah.
We optimize everything now. We listen to podcasts
Well-
at 2x speed. Sorry, guys. We schedule 15-minute coffee chats.
We treat our lives like a logistics problem to be solved.
And that brings us to the turnaround. Because the source is very specific here. It doesn't say, quit your job and move to a yurt in Bali.
Which I appreciate. Abandon civilization is not practical advice for most of us.
We have mortgages.
Exactly. The source argues that success is a terrible master, but a useful tool. This is the pivot. He stopped serving success and started making success serve him.
How? I mean, what does that actually look like on a Tuesday morning?
He changed the metrics. He stopped asking, how can I get ahead, and started asking, how do I want my days to feel?
That's a radical shift.
Right.
How do I want my days to feel? It focuses on the process, not the outcome.
Exactly. And who do I want to be present for? These are qualitative metrics, not quantitative. You can't put presence on a spreadsheet, but you know when it's missing. You feel it in your gut.
Now, I want to drill down on the transition period mentioned in the source. Because when people try to make these changes, setting boundaries, turning off the phone, it usually feels terrible at first.
It feels awful. The source is very honest about this. When he started slowing down, he didn't feel zen. He felt like he was falling behind. He felt guilty.
It's withdrawal, isn't it?
It is. When your nervous system is adapted to high cortisol, high adrenaline environments, silence feels like a threat. Your brain says, why aren't we fighting a tiger right now? Something is wrong.
Boredom feels like failure. Taking a nap feels like a moral feeling.
So he had to white-knuckle through the detox. He had to retrain his brain to understand that rest is not lazy, and the source says that slowly, happiness appeared. But, and this is key, it didn't appear as excitement.
What did it look like?
It appeared as calm.
That's a massive distinction. We are sold happiness as this high-energy state. Jumping for joy, fist pumping.
But sustainable happiness is usually quiet. It was mornings without dread and evenings without exhaustion. He began to value being grounded over being impressive.
Which leads to the paradox of alignment. This was the most counterintuitive part of the deep dive for me. You would think, logically, if he takes his foot off the gas, if he stops checking email at midnight, his career would tank.
But the opposite happened. The source claims his work actually improved.
Explain the mechanism there. How do you work less and get better results?
It's about the energy you bring into the room. Before, he was operating out of fear and a need for validation. That makes you reactive. It makes you desperate.
People can smell desperation.
They can. In negotiations and leadership, if you need the win to prove you exist, you're in a weak position. You make short-term choices just to alleviate your anxiety.
But when he detached his identity from the outcome, he gained clarity.
Outcome independence. Exactly. He moved from chasing to choosing. When you aren't terrified of losing, you make bolder, smarter decisions. You become the person in the room who is calm when everyone else is freaking out.
And that is a massive competitive advantage.
So he became more successful by caring less about success.
Or, by caring less about the appearance of success, he gained self-respect. And that self-respect is a form of wealth that no title can give you.
The source actually redefines wealth here at the end. It lists components that aren't financial.
Right. Real wealth, according to the author, is time, health, relationships, and self-respect.
It's a portfolio approach to life. If you have $10 million but no time and a bad liver, you're poor.
You're bankrupt. The source makes a great distinction here. Success provides options. Money is great for options, gives you choices.
But success cannot provide meaning.
Meaning is an inside job.
Success is the house. Meaning is the home. You can build a massive mansion, but if you don't fill it with love, connection, and presence, it's just a big, drafty, empty structure.
I'm stealing that. Success is the house, meaning is the home. It really challenges that binary thinking where you're either a winner or a loser. This suggests a third way.
The third way is, you can be successful and happy, but only if you are willing to look like you're losing the rat race to the people who are still running it.
You have to be okay with being misunderstood by the hustlers.
You do. You have to
Yep.
cultivate it. It's a daily practice. You don't arrive at contentment. You build it day by day through small choices.
Saying no to the meeting, that could be an email.
Turning off the phone at dinner, looking your kids in the eye and actually seeing them.
It's funny, we started this deep dive talking about the finish line fantasy, and it turns out the only real finish line is death. And that's not a race you want to speed run.
No. You want to enjoy the run. You want to look around at the scenery. You want to run with people you like. You don't want to get to the end and realize you missed the whole point because you're staring at your watch.
So let's wrap this up with the big takeaways for everyone listening. If they take 3 things from this source, what should they be?
Okay. Number 1. The script you inherited is likely outdated or just plain wrong, Frau. Just because society says this is the path doesn't mean it leads where you actually want to go. Question the template.
Number 2, the arrival fallacy is dangerous. Reaching the goal will not fix your internal state. If you are anxious and disconnected at the bottom of the mountain, you will be anxious and disconnected at the top, just with a better view.
And number 3, you have to proactively define your own metrics. If you don't define what enough looks like, the world will define it for you. And the world's definition is always more.
Always more.
Always more. So ask yourself, how do I want my days to feel, and push through the discomfort of slowing down?
It's the detox.
It is. You have to push through that falling behind feeling to get to the calm.
I love that the protagonist didn't have to burn his life down to fix it. He didn't have to walk away from his career. He renovated it.
He became rich in a different way. He realized that a successful life that feels empty is the ultimate failure.
So here is the challenge for you listening right now. The source leaves us with a really provocative thought. If you are currently chasing success, running that marathon with your lungs burning, hoping it's going to fix everything, just pause.
Stop running for a second.
Take a look at your calendar and then take a look at your life values. Are they telling the same story?
Because success is great at filling your calendar. It will book every single hour you have. It will act like a gas expanding to fill the container. But only you can fill your life with meaning.
And if they aren't matching up, maybe it's time to ask that dangerous question. If this is success, why am I unhappy?
Be brave enough to hear the answer.
A huge thank you to the author of The Myth of Achievement and the Architecture of Contentment for this incredible reality check. And thank you to you for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Stay grounded.